Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I hope everyone is doing well, and I do appreciate everyone who shows up for my broadcast and everyone who watches after the broadcast. And to the Rumble crowd, I will be trying to upload videos. It's a little tedious, but I will do it when I can, of course. So anyway, folks, we got a lot to talk about. This is a direct quote from one of the posts of Donald J. Trump on Truth Social. And I got to wait a little bit into the video before I use the word. I don't know if I'll get in trouble for it being on my thumbnail or not. But anyway, I was unceremoniously dumped on my last broadcast. Dumped into the who the hell knows where in the middle of my broadcast, my last outing. So we shall see if that happens again. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about a lot more. But what do? I play videos, and everybody can settle in, get themselves a nice cup of coffee, a cold brew or an adult beverage of their choice. And what shall we do after that? We'll be like butter and get on a roll.
Patriots, I was fired from CNN because I constantly told the truth about the Charlottesville hoax, the ridiculous lie that Donald Trump had praised bigots in Charlottesville when in fact the exact opposite was true. Well, it now turns out that that Charlottesville hoax, that lie, was itself based upon a grand lie. We now have details from the DOJ that the SPLC, a corrupt leftist activist organization, paid $300,000 to one scumbag to organize the Charlottesville riot itself. So the entire event was staged. It was financed and organized by the left. And they were then able to successfully create a massive and unfortunately largely successful lie, a propaganda campaign that stemmed from the very event that they organized.
The very obvious question, but one that is still very interesting. What is it like for you now? What was it like getting that news that you were going to be released? Could you believe that?
You know, I've been told so many times, Lara, just 2 more weeks. Well, first I was told you won't go to prison. There's no way. You'll probably get probation, all that. So when they handcuffed me in front of all my friends and supporters in that courtroom.
Was that brutal?
That was really brutal. That was the first time I really broke, was when they took me down that long, long corridor down to the basement to the jail and then closed those loud, very loud, heavy steel doors. And that was the first time I really just broke down.
And you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC, and CBS, and CNN.
But Mr. President,
you're one-sided crooked network. So let's call it quits, because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please.
Storm zone.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about.
They have unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person.
He's absolutely going to come back with full vengeance the next time around.
Now think about what 4 years of a retribution presidency might look like. Our Constitution really does give the president tremendous power to destroy. This will be something we could never have imagined. Now the gloves are off. Payback time.
Some of Trump's close political allies told him they are working on figuring out the identities of the FBI and DOJ staff and forming lists.
I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal, racist enforcement of the law. If the deep state is destroying our nation, but the tables must turn, and we will quickly destroy the deep state. We know where the bodies are buried. There are a lot of people out there that have done some very, very evil things, very bad things, I would say treasonous things against our country. People that have done such harm to our country. I've been looking at them for a long time.
He could order the investigation and prosecution of individuals who he perceives as enemies.
Put them all in jail where they belong. You gotta get tough and smart, and you have to fight fire with fire. You can't allow this to go on. And I will be the one to clean it up. I am your retribution. We will take care of it. We will take care of it.
Hi, folks. Once again, I thank you all for coming in this evening. Boy, have we got a lot of stuff to go over. Oh, my gosh. Some of the most stuff in my studio I've had in a long time, but we'll try to fire through it. Hi, Todd. How you doing? Darla's here. Sherry's here. Sissy's here. Nice to see you. Rubber Toad. Yeah. Let's see. Wayne, nice to see you. Thank you for going by buy me a coffee this evening and starting off the week. It's a big help. I appreciate it. Yes, and a thumbs up helps the video get around. Hi, Cole, part of the younger gang. Haha, Frank's here. All right. If I miss anybody, it is inadvertent. Hello, Elva. And if we get any newbies in, they talk a little dopey stuff, don't run them off. Give me a chance. Hi, Johnny. How you doing? Robert's here. Let's see. All right, man. We got people rolling in right, left. Yep. Rain, nice to see you. Let's see. And looking for... I wanted to be up about... Hi, Miss Mindersue is here. I wanted to be up about 15 minutes early, or half hour, actually. But I tell you, there's just... People say, oh, things are going to be quiet for a while. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. When Trump puts out a post with the T word in it, of course, I had to go to... the CUE post. Hi, Benjamin. Pappy Two Bears. How you doing? I had to go to the CUE post, and I have to correct myself about what I was saying about Adam Schiff. I said, was the $7 million worth it? Well, if you put the word tree and then Zun, hi, Randy, how you doing? You will get 30-some posts, 38 posts. I can't remember how many. And Adam Schiff's name is in there. It's not initials. It's not anything. You got to figure out. It says his name. And it says, was the $7.8 million worth it? Adam Schiff, I want to get that straight, okay? And if there's some kind of rhythm, because we know you used to work for the C dot, and then I dot, A dot, right? That picks up when people mention your name. A lot of people have that. A lot of these bigger creators have that, where if they're talked about, they'll get an alert, and they can go right to your video and the timestamp with AI. So, hey, keep this in mind, folks, with this AI and data centers. Let me tell you, if the mainstream media is against it and Donald Trump is for it, what would your brain tell you is what's best for us? What would your brain tell you? So please use that wonderful brain you have. It's no good if you don't use it. And so anyway, so we have a relentless notifications and narratives being pumped out every day by Goggle, right? Which is was started through DARPA, D-A-R-P-A. I know that I'll only say it once because that'll click right into the rhythm, which is tied very closely to C-H-Y-N-A, okay? So anyway, so they pump out a constant narrative building, and getting shadow memories in people's minds where they can't say exactly why they feel a certain way. But just like with the ex-CNN person I posted at the beginning of this video, he talked about the Charlottesville hoax. That put a shadow memory in people's minds that Trump is a cyst, right? And the supporters are the same way. And it's been debunked. You just heard the man say, financed by a criminal group, which their chief operating officer was arrested. But no, they still have that feeling in their mind about Trump. And that's what their goal is, their game is. So we're out here fighting it. Trump's fighting it on Truth Social every day. Here you go. He put this up, made no bones about it. I can repeat the president, can I? The president of the United States, the chief law enforcement officer. Jihadists. Ilhan Omar, Sharia law. Got a picture of her wedding certificate, right? Marriage certificate. To her brother. And DNA test. And then you've got Abdul Al-Sayed from Michigan. He's going to stay with Sharia law till the day he perishes, right? In the eyes of our laws, that way of thinking is criminal, okay? Along with Rashida Tlaib. So Trump stopped at 3. Maybe he'll come out with some more. We know we got some more. But there you are. People, anybody supporting them, it's time to, we don't have to be rude. We don't have to be crude. But we can be blunt, okay? Time to start being blunt. If you don't have a problem with these people, I got a problem with you. All right? And if you support these people, I don't support you. All right? I don't view you as a person who has the American spirit at all. I don't view you that way at all. So they're being browbeat by their own ridiculousness and their policies blowing up in their faces. And they're trying to manage it by saying woke 1. Woke 1 was a disaster. We're going to try woke 2. It's the same thing with socialism and communism. They always say, they didn't do it right then. We have to do it right the next time. Well, confiscatory policies, okay, tyrannical rule where once you give them the power, even a little bit of power over you, they will take it to the extreme. And that's where I keep saying the 16th Amendment was the gateway to slavery, where they could take your income from any source. We went 140 years, I don't know how many years it was, where they couldn't touch your money. This is none of your business. If you weren't breaking the law and you're going out and earning an honest dollar, they had no right to it. Once they got that right, they will abuse it. No way around it. The 16th Amendment needs to be thrown on the ash heap of history as flotsam and jetsam rolling down the stream of history. Okay? Gone. Just like prohibition. All right? And because they will always abuse that power if they have it. So here we have Rudy Giuliani coming out. And I say give him as much press, as much exposure as you can. Get a screenshot of this and put it on your meta page. Rudy Giuliani, no mom Dami at Ground Zero for 25th anniversary of 9/11. And I still will maintain that he doesn't even belong in this country, much less sitting in the mayor's office, as far as I'm concerned. And I tell you what, now a lot of people are in now. I was saying at the beginning of my broadcast, I was unceremoniously dumped my last broadcast. And I was talking for a good maybe 4 minutes before I noticed the views cratering and people in the chat saying, what happened? Where'd he go? And there was no indication on my screen of any troubles. Usually I'll have screen freeze or something will happen and my screen will go black. But no, I was still doing my broadcast and I was offline. No buffering, no warning. And I was talking about Luigi Mangione. And I said he needed a long drop with a short rope. And other things, okay? Him and that other one, Tyler Robinson, need to be taken care of. He's playing a game where they're going to try to plead guilty to some dopey charge. I was stalking that resulted in the death of another. I agree. Well, no, we want to see, we don't need heroes that are evil cowards held up as heroes. No, we're not going to tolerate it. And I was in the middle of that talk when, boom, I was gone. Well, let's see how long I hang in there tonight. Here's Midas Trash Network. I'm really interested in this bunch because they popped up out of nowhere and they got traction with the most ridiculous and vile descriptions of Trump and Trump supporters. They got in trouble one time, or took down some of their videos one time that I know of. It was recent, and I think because they were going to get their asses sued. But look at the picture they choose of Trump when he's an 80-year-old man going around energetically, speaking to people for hours, going in front of the press, answering everything they throw at him, showing energy, communicating to the people like no president has ever done. They have any respect? No. Midas Trash. Trump is hiding out at his golf course, posting pirate memes while our sailors in the Abraham Lincoln. Oh, you mean a half a dozen pansies who are counting their French fries and mad and writing home to mommy, and then mommy calls somebody at CNN, exaggerating? Boy, wait till they get back. Our sailors on the Abraham near nothing. Had to drink out of mud holes and creeks to survive. Some of them didn't. But anyway, meanwhile, he's telling the Supreme Court his golden ballroom is a shield against Iranian missiles. Full breakdown. You pansies. You make me sick, all of you. Euro fairies and pansies is what I'm going to start calling them. It's so sickening. And okay, 20-some people dipped out. Maybe they don't like my way of talking. Did anybody jump in? Hi, Linda Marie. How you doing? Oh, Miss Bindersue, let's hope you do better. But anyway, who knows what's going on, why there's a fluctuation. But anyway, I'll keep going. I'll say what I think. So anyway, I pulled up the word treason, right, in the CUE posts. You know what other word popped up in a lot of the posts? And be careful how you spell it. But another word popped in 2 or 3 times in the same post as the word tree, okay, and then zun. What was the word? I was kind of taken aback. Oh, I lost connection? See what? Nice to meet you. I hope you're genuine, see what? Because, I learned from Frank on the NPC show that sometimes people come into chats that are new and they'll be saying, oh, I can't hear you, and, stuff like that. Hopefully you're genuine and that is a correct description of your experience. 5x5. See what's buffering. Well, you have to do something. Restart. Elva says 5 by 5. See what's a long time lurker. All right. Hi, Melinda. Mountain Man is back. Oh, gee, I was blowing a cork. I was blowing a cork over the Midas trash. Sue, can you hear me? Oh, skip for a little bit, but back now. Todd says, okay. All right. Well, I was blowing a cork over the pansies that were complaining on the Lincoln. And anyway, so they're taking off and running with it. And it's nonsense. And we'll talk about it some more. But there's a word. Hi, Vicky. Yeah, Mountain Man's in the house. Ha, ha, ha. There was a word when I put tree in a zone in the CUE posts that came up a couple of times on different posts. And be careful how you spell the word if you guess which one it was. But, you know, I'm going to get my old dictionary that I told you all about. I used it in the past. And look up the word megalomania. Okay, we know generally what it is. But I tell you what one of the ways that these Marxists gain power is to give people plant the seeds of megalomania in their psyche, where they're the center of the world, where they are special and important, and their individual thoughts, such as they can gather them with the decrepit education system we've bestowed upon them, that they're infallible and they're always right. Even though, like Reagan said, too bad that so much of what they think is right is wrong. When it gets challenged or they get put in a position that they can't think their way out of, they can't talk their way out of, what do? Well, I'll tell you what one guy did. Right here. And I said to myself, this guy has got Mercan eyeballs. Remember that? Mercan. The tattooed mascara, kind of like Little Richard. Was it Little Richard or Prince or somebody did that? And I said, well, this guy's got sugar in his gas tank. And take the fifth. No, they do worse than that, Frank. When reality puts one upside their head. Cambridge professor found DAD over scrutiny over academic record, faced sustained abuse. You know, and I thought, maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe he's not got makeup on and all this stuff. But no, what he did was he did you know what aside? You know what aside? Now here's somebody that was raised on DEI, raised in a dysphoric world, okay, of what is in demand, what is accepted, what is a good way of life, and fast-tracked, using what I will say is a hallmark of the left: fraud, self-deception, and a general deception. That's why I have Fraudfare. Fraud. I'm not going to call it lawfare anymore. It's Fraudfare. And these judges that are participating in it are just as guilty of fraud. They know damn good and well. Just like with the ballroom, which we'll get to in a minute. Stopping the ballroom dead in its tracks. Don't tell me you're a federal judge and you're that stupid. to think that some woman walking her dog could stop a military project approved by the President of the United States at the White House, and you're gonna put out an order to stop it, something for national security and the safety of the President of the United States and dignitaries and White House staff? Are you out of your mind? No, you're a fraud. The judge is a fraud. This guy, or whatever now, look at this picture. Maybe I'm right. Maybe he doesn't have a tattooed mascara. Maybe he used to. The key word is used to, because it's SOO aside is what happened to him. All his degrees were fake, right, Todd? Man, I'm having a flashback. Obama, Columbia University, Obama, Harvard, Obama. They called him a constitutional scholar. Won't release his records. Popped up out of the ground. Became President of the United States. Wait till he gets exposed. Well, this guy got exposed. He couldn't handle it. Christina Aguirre, there's more to this story if you care to go to her page and check it out. I think his name's Jason, but she has Asen R. Day. Cambridge's youngest ever black professor, found dead at 41. The former sociology of education professor. What in the hell is even that? Sociology of education professor was discovered unresponsive Friday afternoon at Battersea, South London address. Metropolitan Police confirmed a 41-year-old man pronounced dead at the scene. Death treated as unexpected but not suspicious. Next of kin notified. Well, the bottom line is he did it himself, okay? I'll show you some other posts about it. Arday resigned August 5th after Cambridge launched an investigation into his academic qualifications, honorary appointments, and plagiarism allegations in his PhD thesis and papers. He denied wrongdoing. Don't you think there wasn't somebody else? Do you think this guy's as big of a genius that he can rise to this point and get these accolades and influence young minds and politics by himself? His appointment at age 37 was widely celebrated as a diversity milestone. However, it was later revealed that he allegedly lied about his education, prior work history, and credentials as claims of plagiarism popped up. Well, it wasn't unexpected. Might have been unexpected for law enforcement. Well, here's the first picture I saw where I wasn't sure. Did he have mascara on, or what? Does he have mascara? Former Cambridge professor found dead amid plagiarism allegations, according to the university. So I got it somewhere in here where he popped his own cork. I'll put it that way. So you might have guessed what word was accompanying a number of the CUE posts that had the word tree and the sun in it. Yeah, Millie Vanilli. Yeah, he looks like a girl. Could have played for the WNBA. I mean, probably couldn't kept up with the girls. So anyway, I'll get back to him in a minute. Yeah, let me find these posts. There's one that I had to get another screenshot of. I don't know how many times I put this up. Devil may care. I'll put it up again. Barack Hussein Obama. You know, Trump's using the treason word. Trump had. And I don't know if they can, have an issue with me saying it. They said they wanted to take Trump's security clearance. They said, well, we did. Joe Biden took away his Trump's security clearance, but he still had, with the EPA of all things, Q clearance. Remember Tony Bobulinski saying, I have the highest, not had. Tony Bobulinski said, I have the highest clearance you can get, Q clearance. Okay. So, when is the press going to start wondering about this stuff? But anyway, here you have, you can pull up the U.S. codes. Word on the street is that he was warned, okay, on the record, but it's not a record we can see, okay? Just like a lot of things that I believe have happened with SCOTUS, because there's the doctrine of state secrets. But word on the street is, whether it was him directly or his acolytes or assistants or whatever, that if they keep farting around and interfering, that there would be some legal action taken under the Hatch Act. Okay, and they can go with the Logan Act. All right. So anyway, the threads are coming together on Iran. The threads are coming together on China. The threads are coming together on Uranium One. A trip down memory lane brings us to the steel that's been used in our ships. And if the steel in our ships was a problem, why wouldn't there be some problem with our Apache helicopters that causes us to ground all of them after so many years of service? What if the steel used for military-grade projects was made inferior by our enemies as a method to weaken? What if Hussein knew and authorized Renegade? Remember, that was his Secret Service code name, Renegade. Does anybody know Trump's code name? Better not. But anyway, what if Hussein knew and authorized? Well, you think steel would be the only way they would try to weaken our military? What's one of the things I said was one of the most important when it comes to the military? If you can weaken it, what's the most important thing? And by the way, to answer my earlier question, the word that was associated with the treason posts was, you know what, aside, that I can't say. Sue and then aside. And that's going to tie into where Mark Kelly was claiming that sailors wanted to jump off the Lincoln, the aircraft carrier, wanted to end it. Well, maybe Mark Kelly, well, I don't know. But anyway. That's right, Miss Bender Sue. Soon they will. Anyway, what if Hussein knew and authorized? How many Marines volunteered to serve during his term? Why? What if his name we don't say organized the deal? We all know the name, McStain. Okay, and I'm not saying it proper, so don't count ha ha ha. Is he the one to set up the weak steel? The U.S. taxpayer subsidizes the world. This post is from 2018. We're just now finding out, as a collective, many of us knew way before, that the U.S. was paying for the UN. The U.S. was paying for NATO. The U.S. was paying for Europe's free healthcare systems by getting ripped off on drugs. Okay? America's been paying for bribes and propaganda through U.S. things like USAID. Billions and billions and billions of dollars every year get pumped overseas and into the pockets of seditionists and treasonous, foreign and domestic. We have been financing the world. We subsidize the world. America has been sold to the highest bidder. America has been weakened on purpose. The depths of their treason is unimaginable. Pure evil. Hell on earth. Hillary Rodham Clinton victory. Because they had it all there. They had the 16-year plan there. That included stay home, stay safe. A destroyed economy. What happens when you destroy an economy? You can take it over. That's what happens. With what? Communism, Marxism, socialism. Pick your poison. I thought about, instead of saying these are the treasonous, I thought about putting up treason doesn't pay well in the end. That's put in there numerous times. But since Donald Trump dropped the term, is there going to be a boom week ahead? That's why I'm saying some folks are saying it's going to be quiet for a while. I don't believe so. Because Trump is going to try to keep things smooth and cool for the midterms. Try to keep an even keel. And we go on with the same broken record of squeaker elections and a bare 2-vote majority in the House and not enough votes in the Senate to impeach people or judges or that it's all going to be the same friction and tension, as if our nation is truly divided among the spirit of 1776 Americans and these degenerate, radical, Marxists. And no, there is a huge difference. Here's one for your meta page right here. Adolf, watching the Democrats become socialists and blaming everything on the JEWs. Isn't that how it's going? The answer to what I said earlier, what was the most important thing you could weaken in the military? Hi, Sparky. I'm looking to see if there's any answers before I say anything. No. I asked the question of the chats. What is the thing that you can destroy? What is or weaken? Sabotage. See if anybody gets that. Give it a little more. Rain got it. Ha ha ha. Rain hit the nail on the head. The morale. So, you have this drumbeat. Even with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The Jews did it. According to Candace Owens and her ilk. And you don't believe me that stuff is harming our morale? These young people being encouraged to tell their parents, we get mystery mush for food. What? Because they wanted chicken McNuggets? I mean, what's the problem here? But I want to show you this one post. That's shows you how effective, if I can find it, how effective the propaganda campaigns are, and it affects our military. Here. This is being put out overseas. They're writing on the flaps of airplanes. And I'm sure they're writing it on the BOMBs. Now, is this the majority of our military? I don't think so. U.S. service members in the Middle East wrote a series of protest messages on one of the aircraft's flaps, including, now see, they need to find out who did this. 1, 2, 5, 10. I remember reading about during the Civil War, Union soldiers were known to do graffiti and pictures of Abraham Lincoln looking like a monkey and, things like this. And they weren't disciplined or anything, but soldiers will have their opinions, and sometimes they don't like the commander-in-chief. Thought Abraham Lincoln was not good, but they still fought the war, right? But here you have BB's cucks. Be a good goy and do what Israel tells you to. Operation Epstein Fury. Peace deal number 64 incoming. All this for the Holy Land. I love Israel. I'm a good goyim wolf. And Article 15 incoming. There should be discipline for this. And, but, what makes you think that there weren't people on the Abraham Lincoln that were purposefully over broadcasting problems, shortcomings that happen in every operation, in every setting? The best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. And coordinating to some degree with the media. How many of you all understand that that is a distinct possibility? That there are people, I'll call them leftovers, that joined the military because they would be like this so-called professor we just looked at. Talk a good game, get promised the moon and the stars, DEI hires who are incompetent and never be put in a position to actually have to struggle or deal with deprivations and hardships in the name of service. That never entered their mind because they didn't join the Army to fight for the United States or the Navy or whatever. They just joined because it was a steady paycheck and they could promote their degenerate life beliefs. How many thousands of people like that do you think are currently in the military? And now that stuff is being thrown in the trash. No, you are not a distinctly wonderful person. All right, your rear end belongs to the military, and if you get mystery mush, eat mystery mush, okay? And they get smacked in the face with that kind of reality. What are they going to do? There's no way that everybody in the military agrees with Trump. Of course not. There are holdovers, hangers-ons that shouldn't even be in there. And you don't disclose operational details. You don't magnify them. You don't write home to your parents stuff that they're going to turn around, especially if they're TDS freaks, and broadcast it through CNN. And no, I don't want any soldier to go through hardships. Of course not. But that's the way it goes when you're deployed to a combat zone. here you got this idiot. And, you know, I'm just wondering what's going on with him. There's a comeuppance, okay, for this guy. Mark Kelly. Senator claims sailors try to jump from USS Abraham Lincoln after 200 plus days at sea. I beg your pardon? I never promised you a rose garden. Here, unfortunately, are the young men that lost their lives during that crash. Here they are. The two airmen, thank you for his service and sacrifice. This is U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer DeAndre D.T. Huey. He was one of 2 soldiers killed when a military helicopter crashed Wednesday in Salado, Texas. He was just 34 years old. He wasn't deployed, and nobody wanted that to happen. This is Army Warrant Officer Seth Olmstead. He was one of the 2 soldiers killed when the military helicopter crashed. Just 25 years old. You know, that's why I call it precious time, but especially when you're training to defend the country and you are in harm's way, but you're more than that, your fellow crew members are in harm's way. You can't suck it up and deal with it till your deployment is over. I mean, people have had to sleep in mud and not eat for a period of days in combat situations. And when reality hits these people, they're gonna crumble. A lot of them are gonna crumble like that so-called professor. Without fraud, without a fraudulent dream life, what are they gonna do? What was he gonna do, this guy from Cambridge, once he got exposed? 41 is young in my book. How many years of his life did he spend being drawn into this DEI framework, okay? Equity, inclusion, go along with the narrative, and all of a sudden you will find security, you'll find jobs, you'll be lauded, and you go recruit more. When that all falls apart and you don't even know, like I showed you in that video, where they couldn't even read and write, and they're being sent off to college. And then they're going to be, what, recommended for jobs? Where do these people end up? Government positions. Or they get put on a preferential list to join some part of the armed forces, where they'll never be challenged and never be put to the test. They'll only be successful because they're breathing. When all that stuff starts coming to an end, they'll either lash out or take it out on themselves. This guy here. Who's this? You know, this guy could have had it pretty good if he knew when to quit. But it's addiction. It's an addiction. Free ride and fraud is an addiction. This is that former Democrat vice mayor arrested and indicted for fraud on felony charges of money laundering and bid rigging city projects while in office. The former Columbus, Mississippi vice mayor Joseph Minkins was indicted in Lowndes County grand jury after a months-long investigation by the Mississippi State Auditor's Office, sparked by a whistleblower. He served for more than 15 years and faces up to 30 years in a joint and $500,000 in fines. Co-conspirator Marcus Dawson, owner of HVAC and Flooring LLC and Mechanical LLC, faces up to 10 years and $10,000 fines. You know how many people were on that COVID train getting loans that aren't sleeping good tonight? And not just the COVID train. Getting those bunk loans. Anyway, let me get back to Donald Trump. He was posting stuff. Let's see. Should I go over the treason one? Well, let me see. I don't know. I'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to read it word for word. Every one of the people involved in their holding up the ballroom should be nervous. But anyway, Trump posted this. The Hills influencer, most followed Democrats. There you got Bernie Sanders, AOC, and then most followed Republicans are Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Jim Jordan, influencer-in-chief Donald J. Trump. So he accompanied it with this video. Democrats, well, wait, let me put the video up. We'll watch the video along with my interjections as I deem appropriate. Democrats' generational change. You know, Donald Trump has came out and said he predicts 2028 AOC presidential run. What do you expect from a group of people who cannot read or write, don't know their country's history? A bunch of ignoramuses running around. And through our tax dollars and our deflationary currency, they've been living a lifestyle that would not be available to them in their state of ignoramity, all right? They're living a fraudulent life and they don't even know it. Of course they're going to think that somebody who comes up with a utopian idea, a supposedly new idea of utopia, is the answer. So it's more dangerous than people realize. AOC should not be laughed at. Her ideology, not her personally, but what she represents is a menace. I'm trying to find one other thing I want to put up. I may have to go to the studio to get it. But anyway, the theme of this, I guess this report Trump wants us to hear is called generational change. So let me go ahead and play it. If I might try to go out of the studio while it's playing. But anyway, let's see what's going on.
host of My View, Laura Trump, joins us now. Laura, so let's start with that question. They're obviously the Democratic Socialists, the communist wing of the party. They're having a great summer. Will this be, something that they'll be celebrating in the fall, or will most of these Democrat socialists who won in these primaries lose in the general?
Well, that is the real question, Rachel. November will be very telling for the future of the Democrat Party. They have a huge problem, though. They have an enthusiasm problem, and they have had that for quite some time. They used all of their capital for 4 years to try to hype people up about Joe Biden. And when their voters realized they'd been lied to about this guy, they said, well, we're not really excited to vote for this party anymore. They don't really have any great rising stars. They're a party in debt, and no one is excited about them. And so now what have they done? They decided to lean into where there was a little bit of enthusiasm and a little bit of energy in their party. Unfortunately, it was socialists, not Democrats, who had that energy. But if they are able, come November, to actually see these people take seats in our House or our Senate, I think the Democrat Party we've always known is dead and gone. And I think their future will be of socialists and communists. And that is a really scary thing for every American. It should scare Democrats. The establishment is terrified of these people, whether or not they've been willing to admit it. But it should be scary to every person in our country, because once you go down that path, Rachel, you don't come back.
Yeah, Laura, I don't think they're terrified of the ideas that the Democrat socialists have. They're just terrified of losing power, that these primaries are not going to work for them in the general. I thought this was an interesting thing for you to look at here. This is the Hill influencers' most followed members of Congress on the Democrat side. So the most followed are Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in the House.
Just to interject, what about this young guy here? A young ideologue. Would you call him a intellectual that's got the keys to utopia through Marxist ideology? How the capitalists are terrible people. Who is this person? Todd got it. Joseph Stalin was once a hip intellectual, atheist, and democratic socialist that led protests against the rich and powerful, rose to power, promising equity, then took over private industry, leading to mass poverty and famine, killed 20 million of his own people. Get a shot of that for your meta page. A young hipster.
Among Republicans, it's Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, and Jim Jordan. So what does this tell you? It looks like we could use some young people on the Republican side as well. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's become cool to be a Republican, and Donald Trump was able to make that a thing, right? I don't know why they're following Elizabeth Warren, quite frankly, unless they want to see her pop beers every now and again and take a swig. But yeah, look, we have an opportunity here where Donald Trump gave us an opening, and he really did open up this party. We have to embrace that, and we have to lean into that. And we especially need to be continuing to talk, like our friend Charlie Kirk did, to young Americans, to people in college, and even kids in high school, and talk to them about why our system works far better than the Democrat system, especially now, Rachel, that we're comparing a capitalist system and our system we've had in America for 250 years to something that we know destroys countries like socialism and communism. We have to continue to educate people. And yeah, we could use some help from the younger members of Congress to do that. Absolutely. So let's keep communicating. Let's keep talking to the kids out there and every American, again, as we head towards November, because this really is.
You heard Adam Schiff. We need a big tent. We got to work with these people. She's dreaming. They're not going to do that. They're not going to try to educate their kids. Here's Robert De Niro getting an education right here. Zohran Mamdani refuses to meet Robert De Niro face to face. He's eating your lunch, Robert De Niro, and popping the bag in your face, just like I said he would, to discuss his property tax increases, and De Niro is not happy about it. I helped get this guy elected, De Niro told MSNBC. Now he wants to take more from me than any mayor in history. De Niro seems to have never looked up exactly what communism means. He is now in the find out phase of his new education. You know, that's the only way they're going to learn, is to have somebody like Mamdani pluck your feathers. Okay? And that's what's happening to you, Robert De Niro, and your ilk. So there's something for you to get a shot of and put on your meta page. The chickens are coming home to roost.
An election that I think is as important as 2024. If you've liked what Donald Trump has been able to do for the first 2 years of his second term and you want to see that continue, we have to win these midterms.
Last week in the primary in Wisconsin, my son-in-law, who won his primary, if he's elected in the general, he will become the youngest member of Congress, and he will also be the first one born in this century. So there is some, and by the way, at his election party, half of the room were young people and the other half were older. So the message matters, but so do the messengers. And I think that's what you're saying. Let's talk about the messengers on your show today, because you have, go ahead. Why don't you tell us who you have today?
Yeah, we have James Blair, of course, from the White House. We have Florida Attorney General James Othmeyer, who is doing a lot right now. He's talked about holding Fauci accountable, which we would absolutely love to see. Avi Loeb is in charge of UAPs for the White House. That used to be called UFOs. Rachel, people want to tune in to hear what he's got to say. It's so fascinating. I went to visit him at Harvard in his office, and we talked about all kinds of things that he's seen and what he thinks we could see. You have to tune in tonight. Willie Robertson and Corey Robertson, they have a new movie that they're part of coming out now that is family friendly, and it's a great way to end the summer. So 9 o'clock tonight, I will see everybody there.
I never miss it, Laura.
Okay, that's a good promotion for that. Yeah, they're changing their primary schedule. I think I got another story on that, which Iowa's not going to be first if they have their... Remember when the Biden gang screwed up Iowa, right? Here's something else Donald Trump posted. And they screwed over Bernie Sanders, but he's fine with it. He's fine with it because his agenda. Remember now, Bernie is a commie at heart. Always has been. Always said he was. Hi, sweet day. How you doing? Nice to see you. Yes, Cole said. Stop by, buy me a coffee. And Miss Bindersue with a bunch of booms. Because I put a link in the chats to buy me a coffee. And I haven't got my booms ready, so I'll get them fired up. Boom! There you go. And kabow! I want to thank Gary for starting off the week with Buy Me a Coffee. Where's Angel? Did I thank Angel the other day? I most certainly hope I did. She had family visiting. She put it in the comments. But now she's able to join us more often. But hey, you got your family in. Love them while you got them, right? But anyway, and everybody else that contributed. Now this is, I got 2 clips of this that Donald Trump posted. Let's see which one I want to play first. I think this one here he put up first. At Real Donald Trump. Who's the guy in the brown suit? He's talking about what Besant was talking about. How we're going to pretty much break the backs, the financial backs of the Iranian regime. Why should we have a bunch of pilots getting pot shots taken at them? And, we'll weaken them financially. And then, hey, you never know. We could wake up one morning and Kark Island will be a U.S. territory. We don't know, do we? Neither do they.
So basically, constraining the regime on the budgetary side post-fighting while adding on the blockade basically allows you to weaponize the dollar in a way that you have done damage, particularly to the above-ground solid propellant ballistic missile production in Iran. And if you squeeze the resources at a time when they otherwise have budgetary issues, they have subsidy issues, it was a failed state pre-war, it was a failed state even pre-protest. Anyway, when you look at the macroeconomic indicators sliding this way, like inflation, for example, in the Islamic Republic, you maximize that, which means you maximize the damage that was done by the kinetics in the previous round of fighting. And if Iran's philosophy is, you mentioned partisan politics, if it's build back better as quickly as possible, some of you may know that bill.
Are you saying that the IRGC are a bunch of Democrats?
I'll let you say that, Mike. But if their philosophy is to build back better, or to build back faster, or to race us to build, these are the tools that actually put time on our side. Because if you marry this powerful financial architecture with what the blockade was able to do, I mean, just look at the oil exports from February, I think, to May. 2.1 million barrels per day, 1.15 million barrels per day, 900,000 million barrels per day, and then by the time you got to the full month of the blockade, after about a half month of the ceasefire, you had only 64,000 barrels per day. Only 4 ships got past the U.S. that month before we got into the month that led to the negotiations that got into the MOU. So this will be effective.
Yeah, the blockade is effective. They're drying up their reserves. And let them build back better. He made fun of it, kind of like a Democrat talking point. Because they're expending energy, time, money, resources. And what are they? Why strike them? Okay, let them put the cherry on top of their cake, okay? And then the cake goes boom, okay? Don't do it while they're mixing the batter. But anyway, here we go. A continuation.
Obama cut the nuclear deal and then delivered to Iran an enormous amount of cash, and turned a blind eye basically to the proxies and the missiles and drones. So I mean, if you think of Iran's defense posture as being a triad of the nuclear program, proxies, and disruptive military capabilities, we got in one leg of the triad, we got temporary and reversible restrictions, and then a complete green light to the Iranians to develop everything else. So that was I think a huge mistake in American strategy, and Donald Trump has reversed that, and he has returned deterrence and the military the
credible threat of military
was turning a blind eye accidental or an oversight, or was it purposeful? Obama turning a blind eye.
Force to the equation. And for that alone, I give him an A. I give him an A+ for that. That's absolutely it's absolutely necessary. You hear a lot of arguments, especially when talking to our European friends. They say that the Strait of Hormuz was open before the war. Now it's closed. The problem hasn't been solved. It's just been worsened, and so on. And my answer to that is very simply is: what was your plan to stop Iran from developing a nuclear weapon? What was your plan from stopping Iran from putting its nuclear program behind a wall of missiles and drones that was going to exact, that if allowed to continue to develop, was going to exact such a high price from the United States if it attacked them that we would never be able to use them, we wouldn't have the military option. So I think that what Donald Trump did was absolutely necessary. If he hadn't done it, what the Americans and the Israelis together did was absolutely necessary. If he hadn't done it, then every American base in the region was under threat. And we were going to have a nuclear-armed Iran in very short order. The price of doing anything about it was going to become prohibitive. And we also had an Iran that could be the proxy of China. In the event that we were to that China was to make a play for Taiwan, it would be able to close the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb and so on. So I think we need to also see it in that global level. So I give him a very, very high marks for taking this on and expending the political capital that it took to do.
Yeah, there you go. It's an endorsement of the strategy, and it's also exposing Barack Hussein Obama's, I will call them missteps, but you know what? You know, he was wearing a ring that said Allah is the one true God. His name, Barack Hussein Obama. He was raised in madrasas in Indonesia. We've seen the pictures of him. Okay. In his book, he talks about eating bugs. You know, they're crunchy. Grasshoppers are crunchy. So anyway, why wouldn't you think that there would not be a push to have people writing such stuff on the jets that I showed you, bashing Israel, okay, and the JEWs, and calling people a derogatory term, which I'm really not allowed to say, so I'll spell it. G is the first letter, and then OY, right? So you see this narrative being pumped out any way they can pump it out. Now, I got to be careful with this video, because I didn't read. This woman is very upset. People pay taxes to the government, this is from Citizens Free Press, so that the government protects them. This is Cueta. And you see, some of the words are censored, right? We have the shame of this. Women are APRN. Okay? You see it. Who is invading? Cueta. Marxists. What's the government saying? Not Marxists, Islamists, right? Well, same thing. The government's saying everything's under control, that they turn people around. But reports are that there's somewhere between 30 and 40,000 still in there. They barely got 15 to 20,000 to go back. And there's 30 to 40,000 still in this small city. But the government says everything's fine.
La vida nos cambia en un segundo. Una llamada nos destroza la vida. Y lo que hoy te está preocupando, lo que te está molestando, lo que te está enfadando, mañana pasa a la categoría de tontería, que es lo que le tocaba. Entonces, la psicología positiva no es demagógica. Claro que tenemos problemas, pero también tenemos cosas fantásticas. Entonces, para desarrollar un poco más de espíritu alegre, optimista, positivo, hay que valorar, disfrutar y agradecer las cosas buenas. Cuando la gratitud entra por la puerta...
They're from Morocco. Sharia law. Sharia law. And here she is. I'll play it. I don't know if the rhythm can pick up the language. I guess she's speaking Espanol, right? But look at the guy in the white. What do you think he is? Fred the baker? You know? No, he came across with the rest of these invaders. And here she is. And he's trying to argue with her.
La la vergüenza esto. Mujeres violadas, mujeres violadas.
Sí, entre ellos se los llevan al monte.
Violadas.
¿Dónde está la policía que tenemos aquí? ¿Para qué estamos pagando
aquí
impuestos?
de Ceuta
¿Por qué
tenemos
no
que
lo
estar,
recogen?
estoy hablando,
¿Pero
las
por qué no
mujeres
lo
de aquí
cogen?
tenemos que estar así.
Sí, asustado,
Atemorizar.
asustado,
Atemorizar
sí.
que no podemos ni salir a la casa.
yo también me
esto
ni sale de la casa.
esto es injusto. Lo que estamos viviendo es injusto. Quítate de aquí. Es injusto. Es muy injusto que tengamos que vivir así. No puede ser. No puede ser.
La entrevista no es usted.
Es de vergüenza. Y aquí se tiene que levantar Ceuta y el país porque no podemos estar así más. Yo estoy embarazada y estoy sufriendo. Tengo un hijo y estoy sufriendo y me duele venir ciudad así. Me duele, hay que levantarse. No puede ser que nos invadan así.
They could care less. These so-called leaders could give a damn. It reminds me of when a woman went out in the streets of New York crying to the sky because her husband passed away. And because of the so-called virus, all right, vi and then Russ, right? They wouldn't send anybody to come pick up her husband's body. And she had to live in the apartment for a week with the body. And she came out the street crying and screaming for help. Just like this woman is. Here's the communist leader of Spain who gave 500,000 citizenship papers out to God knows who. He's in a good mood. He's a happy man. 8 out of 10 people added to July's unemployment rolls in Spain were foreigners. Hundreds of thousands of the creatures you saw walking the streets and sitting on the curbs and stuff, somebody is giving them coaching on what kind of paperwork to fill out so you can sit on the streets and harass women and get a paycheck because you're unemployed. And they laugh at their tears. Hi, Greg. How you doing? They laugh at your tears. And just Robert De Niro, cry, Robert. They'll laugh at your tears just like our tears, okay? And the woman who lost her husband, and this woman you just saw in the streets begging for somebody. She said, this can't be real. This can't be real. But look how we're just destroying our own country. Vandalism again. Some woman whose brain is warped, destroying a World War II monument. It's. Wait a minute. What's this? Speaking of brains, there. This is from Diamond Silk. New onset psychosis following COVID-19 vaccination. A systematic review. Key symptoms: auditory hallucinations, motor disturbances, insomnia. 50% full recovery. 50% residual symptoms. Data suggests potential link between young age mRNA and viral vector vaccines with new onset psychosis within 7 days post VAX. Understanding the rare link between COVID-19 vaccines, neurological symptoms, and psychosis. Take the fifth on that, Fauci. No, there's something wrong. And we're going to be dealing with it for a long time. But we have to contain it. Trump put out a lot of posts, I guess, to keep people bucked up. He put up a lot of posts that he had put up in the past. But I tell you something that's odd. Here's an example. I didn't get every one of them. But many of you heard Trump say the other day, no, that was a joke about me running in 2028. The law's very powerful on that. All right, Cole, yeah. Where's Tammy? Did Tammy make it in? I didn't see Tammy. Let me see. Where's Tammy at? Yeah, Angela was in the other night. I heard somebody say they didn't see her in a while, but she was in the other night, I believe. But anyway, he said the laws are powerful. I'm just joking, right? And he put that up. And he also put up this. Yesterday, Donald J. Trump, there he is. Trump 2028. We are going to win. Doesn't say MAGA 2028, it says Trump. But he just said in an interview, oh no, we're just joking around, you know. You know how it goes. He put up one, I didn't get a copy of it. I think I got another post. If I come across it, I'll put it up. But yeah, he's, once again, only Trump. Only Trump. Clandestine said, you know, he wouldn't be doing this just for, he said, shits and giggles, you know. There's got to be a purpose behind the Trump 2028 posts. But let me find the one that inspired my thumbnail. Here it is. There. These are the treasonists. That's what I have in my thumbnail. I told you it was a direct quote from the President of the United States. That brought suit against the military. They revealed top military secrets! Exclamation point. Here's the first treasonists. The National Trust for Historic Preservation is a beautiful name, but even their name is fake because they add the words, quote, in the United States to the National Trust for Historic Preservation. It makes it sound like a government agency, which it is not. In fact, the United States refused to continue funding it in 2005 because they strongly disagreed with their mission and objectives. That's pre-Obama. They are very bad for our country. They stop many projects that are worthy and hurt many others. In this case, they're trying to stop one that is vital to our national security and the safety of all presidents of the United States, both current and future, their families, staff, and cabinet members. They were asked by the United States military not to bring this suit because of the top secret nature of the important facility being built. They were shown detailed plans and specifications of this knitted, unified, and cohesive structure by top officers and leaders in both the military and Secret Service. But this did not deter them because they suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, commonly referred to as CDS. As noted by Democrat Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, the lower section does not work without the upper section, and likewise, the upper section does not work without the lower. It is all highly integrated unit, one highly integrated unit. Then the then president of the National Trust, who brought this case, Carol Quillen, had no background in historic preservation, has been replaced unanimously and effective immediately. This is similar to her departure from Davidson College, where she was likewise dismissed. But the people of our country are forced to live on with her bad decision, especially that of revealing Carol Quillen, remember that name, revealing to everyone, including our enemies throughout the world, the top secret military features of the building that are already built and or under construction, such as the drone port, which occupies the entire roof. There's absolutely no argument that a woman walking her dog in the vicinity of the White House has standing to stop such a desperately needed national security structure for the people of the United States of America, as it will provide presidents, current and future, a secure place to do their jobs, especially when she never saw the building because it had not risen, and she had no rendering or pictures of the building because they also were in the formative stages of production. The woman is not a walker. She is an activist or a serial plaintiff who is involved in much other frivolous litigation throughout the city. In fact, whenever the National Trust files a lawsuit, she seems to be involved. So she walked at the side of the White House where there was no building, and it bothered her. But she also walks in front of all those other places where she must be also bothered, and hence additional court cases. She has no clearances or expertise whatsoever in national security, defense, or required protections for the president. She has absolutely no standing to be involved in this case, and in fact, her name is not even mentioned as a plaintiff in the case. It is kind of gross and flagrant. It is this kind of gross and flagrant abuse of our courts, fraudfare, that is exactly why Americans are losing faith in our system of justice. It is so bad for our country. President Donald J. Trump. She's been kicked off that damn board, effective immediately. But the judge is still taking their side. The judge is a fraud, participating in fraudfare. Let's see. I'm just looking through the chats. Hi, Stanton. Nice to see you. So anyway, yeah. I think she was also involved, or that group was also involved in this garbage they're going through at the Kennedy Center. Citizen Free Press put up, Democrats want to make crime legal. Here's a New York Assemblywoman, Emily Gallagher. What is wrong with their brains? These people have something missing in their life. And they're prattling a philosophy they couldn't even write down on a piece of paper, I would wager you.
Most of what we saw were crimes of poverty. People who were stealing things like toothpaste. People who were stealing things like, soap. And that means if you're stealing those things, you need them.
Advocates believe that shoplifting or bringing bags of trash onto the trains or sleeping in the subway should not be criminally prosecuted. Neither should graffiti vandalism and public urination, even ferry.
Yeah, let's just let it all be a free-for-all. Let it all be a free-for-all. You know something interesting Trump posted again? Second time in a week. Donald Trump, you see it up there. FBI had 14 informants on Biden, but ran secret op to dismiss evidence as disinformation. So he's talking about the Bureau secretly flagging Bill Barr and Mike Pompeo and lawmakers and journalists as conduits for Russian propaganda. It was their own propaganda scheme. But we know Biden's going to get a pass because of the cancer. But is Hunter going to, what? He's going to sing like a bird is what I think he's going to do. Wes Moore plays dumb on national television. Remember Wes Moore? Who was for Wes Moore? What's that actor's name he played in? I showed him, I said he looked like Frankenstein. George Clooney is all for Wes Moore. What's he playing dumb about?
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez seems to have acknowledged the overreach of the 2020 era of progressivism last week. She said, quote, woke one was crazy. Woke 1.0 was crazy. You were asked about that. You said you didn't know what woke one was. So I've been trying to figure out how to ask this question. There's no official definition. I think woke one generally refers to what are now viewed as excesses of the progressive movement, defund the police, a far left view of the world that views the world in terms of only oppressor and oppressee, language policing, holiday policing, cancel culture, positions that turned off a lot of middle-of-the-road voters. What is your take on that era, even if that wasn't part of how you ran or thought or governed? And what does the Democratic Party need to do if they hope to win outside of blue states and congressional districts?
Well, it's funny. It's true. I said I don't know what woke 1 is, but frankly, I don't know what woke 2 or woke 3 is either.
It's a continuation of heathens, degenerates, and Marxists. Now, you know, Wes Moore, and you're part of it. You support it. And they want to shut down the family. They want to take your belongings, your property, your home. CBS poll, Democrats prefer socialism to capitalism by a whopping margin. The takers, the destroyers, you know, and they have an attitude and they have a sense of justification because they've been brought up in a school system where the teachers can't even read and write in many cases.
So our new CBS News poll out this morning finds 58% of Democrats have a positive view of socialism, and just 32% have a positive view of capitalism. What do you make of that?
What I make of it is that people are struggling. They're struggling because the cost of groceries is too high. The cost of gas is too high. It's too hard to see a doctor, and when you do, the cost of that is too high as well. They're not asking for a lot. They just want to go to work, make a good living, be able to raise their kids, buy a home before they're 40, take their family on the same vacation they went on as kids. And right now, they're seeing a system that doesn't work for them. Now
I believe socialism is a failed experiment.
We've had billions and billions, hundreds of billions, I would say trillions of dollars siphoned out of our country for decades. You know, anybody that can't see that by now is blind. Under the Biden administration, your dollar bill was worth 75 cents when those Marxists were done. That's why people can't afford it.
But I do believe that we need to get results for the American people. And I think when you look at Democratic governors, you see those results. I've been proud to create more jobs than any other governor in our history. The average wage of a new job in Kentucky this year is over $32 an hour. We're building affordable housing in western Kentucky and in eastern Kentucky on top of abandoned coal mines with solar panels on the top so they're affordable to live in too. People just want to see results, want to believe that life can get better.
Yeah, well, you should keep treating us like they do Kuwait, okay? And put all these invaders on unemployment and let them wander the streets. And so what if you create more jobs? If the money you're earning is dwindling in value, what the hell good is it? Here I had some idiots, let me see, interacting. That's the wrong one. I had somebody respond to me about, I said Trump is following all the laws and gas is cheaper under Biden. So this guy says, let's see, gas prices are up, electricity is up, groceries are up, we're in a war, the people's house is totally effed up. Yes, bang up job. The people, here's Trump trying to put in a secure facility with a gathering place for dignitaries where they don't have to go out in tents and use carnival-style porta potties to relieve themselves at the White House of the United States. And he's saying the people's house is effed up. Groceries are up after, well, gas prices are up. They're cheaper than Biden. Randy Penn. I put in there, that's some weak nonsense pansy talking points. Blue states adding gas taxes and utility fees. Everybody knows it. Gas still cheaper than Biden. The White House will have a gorgeous and safe state-of-the-art facility, not a ghetto b-ball court. Iran will never have a nuclear weapons. Love it. That was my response to him. And then I had another idiot chime in. I don't remember Biden calling his supporters stupid. Are you stupid? That could be a thought. I said his brain was gone. Everyone knew. Oil was $120 a barrel. Not one complaint. Drain the strategic oil reserves to historic lows, damaging the infrastructure. Not one news story. Wake the hell up. Your petty comments mean squat. Maybe I read these backwards. I'm not sure. Yeah, I put in there the White House was going to be improved or something like that. So this blue sit said, no, the White House will not. Construction won't be finished before Trump's term is over, and the next president will undoubtedly restore the White House to its proper state. What kind of idiocy, after what I just read from Trump's post, what kind of idiot would come up with it? The next president's going to say, oh, tear down the ballroom, tear down all the drone port and the bomb-proof windows. And are you out of your mind? Iran wasn't going to have a nuclear weapon whether we attack them or not. Are you insane? Instead, we depleted massive amounts of our armory and made fools of ourselves. We haven't even come close to what Biden left behind in Afghanistan. For nothing. Except for those who lost their lives at Abbey Gate. Trump has put us further into debt by trillions in less than 2 years. God only knows how bad it will be by 2028. Propaganda. Willful ignorance. I said, get out of your blue sky echo chamber. You're divorced from reality. It's a massive and much needed complex needed for national security. It will be every bit as historical as the main White House, which Harry S. Truman totally gutted to the exterior walls and added 10 subterranean stories underneath in the 1950s. Educate yourself so that you don't come across as dim. Have a great day. And if you want to copy that to maybe tweak it a little bit to, if you ever go have the unfortunate experience of having blue sky nitwits respond to your comments. Here's Todd Blanche. Let's see what Newsmax put this up. Here you go. Todd Blanche, Justice Department. The Trump administration has filed a first-ever petition to a secretive and dormant court created 30 years ago to consider government requests to deport so-called alien terrorists from the United States. I'm disappointed in Newsmax for that description. What? A court that was started in created in 1996 is supposed to be something we can't use? Here's another one. Occupy Democrats. That's poison. They have algorithms. How many times has your comments or chats been removed? Not by me. How do they get away with putting this kind of crap up? This I got off of YouTube. The site is called Occupy Democrats. Jonathan Funk. Since Trump is trying to make us a dictatorship instead of a democracy, period instead of comma, does that mean an average American can assassinate him and take over the office of the president? Nobody reviews these things. Nobody takes down inappropriate garbage. Here's CNN. Drumbeat. A drumbeat. The false claims, chaos, and cover-ups behind the immigration agents' killing of 2 American citizens. 18 days in Minnesota. I guess they're doing a special. The false claims, chaos, cover. CNN. But at what point do you do something? At what point can you avoid accusations of being a dictator? I've said it before, though. Lincoln closed over 200 newspapers during the Civil War and arrested editors. Look at this. Teletrash. How Trump's war blew a hole in Western defenses. Oh, really? Let somebody screw with us and watch what happens. What's this guy even doing in the Senate? The Blaze put this out. Representative Ro Khanna. The California Democrat Party and the California Labor Movement just stood with Bernie Sanders and me in supporting a 5% wealth tax on 250 California billionaires. So they can just confiscate, because of an arbitrary number that they consider to be your net worth, they can confiscate currency from you. Because what they consider to be excessive ownership, that you accumulated in their minds excessive wealth, they have the right to confiscate. That's communism. It's against the Constitution. The government goes to seize property. They have to have a reason, and they have to give just compensation. The 16th Amendment allows tax on income, which I said at the beginning of the broadcast, I'll say it again, it needs to be repealed. It's a poison pill in our Constitution, a corrosive amendment that will always be abused, especially by communists. Alert. Alert. See something, say something, right? Well, I see something right here. What do I see? I see a setup coming. I see another Charlottesville coming. I see another J and then 6 coming. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think? Dearborn, Michigan. Didn't Trump just put up jihadists in Michigan? Said and Talib. Police chief warns residents ahead of Christian Crusader March. What do you think, folks, in the chats? Does it sound like a setup? Sound like they're going to send operatives in to pretend like they're Christians and cause damage and mayhem? A la Charlottesville, a la J6. When is this going to happen? When is this Christian Crusade? I didn't watch the video. Does anybody know when this so-called Christian Crusader March is going to start? Is this being organized or infiltrated by the Southern Poverty Law Center? I would venture to say it probably will be. You know, this video I'm going to play for you all may be up on the replay and it may not. Saturday Night Live put it up in 2015. 11 years ago. And my comment on this, thought it was funny then, didn't you? Well, you won't think it's so funny in the future if things keep going the way they're going. And I don't know if I got nailed a few times from SNL stuff, so it might have to come down. I don't know. I'll put a few special effects in while it's playing. Like this. Let me see. I'll put in the exclamation point. Things that are curious to me. I'll put up a question mark. Do something like that to change the content or whatever with my thoughts. But anyway, folks, what do I say? I say thank you for spending your precious time with me. Don't I always say that? And I should be going live, tomorrow night, right? Where in the world? Whoa, holy cow. There we go. I'm trying to find what I need. But anyway, I will be putting up my postage stamp for buying me a coffee. And I want to thank again Wayne for helping start the week out with buying me a coffee, and everybody else that's contributed. And a special shout out to Miss Minder Sue and Gary for their Moabs when they stopped by. And anyway, enjoy this video. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.